Hi there. Today we're going to explore the plot of the 2014 film You're Not You. A woman named Kate was happily married to her husband, Evan. They were preparing for a party at their home to celebrate Kate's birthday. At one point, her hands suddenly weakened and she dropped a glass. All the couple's closest friends were present at the celebration. Evan raised a toast to his beloved wife, noting that at 35 she looked even better than she had 15 years ago when they first met. The guests were having a great time. Kate, who was a professional pianist, played a few melodies for her friends. At that moment, she once again felt a tremor in her hands. A year and a half passed. A young woman named Beck woke up after a loud party and realized she was late for a job interview. She quickly got herself ready and left. Meanwhile, Evan was caring for his seriously ill wife. By this time, Kate's life had completely changed. She had almost entirely lost the ability to move and could no longer perform any daily tasks on her own. Evan applied her makeup, knowing how important it was to her. Kate felt ashamed that her husband had to take care of her. Evan was displeased to learn that Kate had fired yet another caregiver, but she assured him that she had already found a replacement, so there was no reason to worry. Soon, Beck arrived at their home. When the girl appeared on the doorstep, looking like a carefree teenager, Evan was surprised. The couple asked Beck to talk about her experience and show her resume. Instead of a neat document, she pulled a crumpled sheet of paper out of her bag. Evan immediately realized that the girl was irresponsible and lacked the necessary skills, but Kate wanted to give her a chance. It turned out that Beck had once volunteered at a nursing home. Kate wanted a caregiver with whom she wouldn't feel like a patient, and Beck seemed like the perfect candidate. Evan explained to her how to properly prepare healthy meals for his wife. He still couldn't believe he was entrusting the care of the most important person in his life to someone so unreliable, but Kate promised everything would be fine. Beck kept talking non-stop, and when she tried to make a vegetable smoothie, she created a mess in the kitchen. Moreover, Kate needed help in the bathroom, and Beck turned out to be completely unprepared for that. Kate was constantly surprised by her bluntness and candid humor. During one of the routines, Beck accidentally dropped Kate, but she didn't even get angry. She just smiled wearily. That night, Beck went with her friend Jill to a bar, got drunk, and talked about yet another failure. What surprised her most was that Kate still hadn't fired her. Beck dreamed of singing on stage, and that evening she got a chance to showcase her talent. But as before, she got nervous and ran to the bathroom. She couldn't understand why it kept happening. Unexpectedly, Beck met a professor from the university where she studied. She started to flirt, but quickly found out that he was married. After drinking, Beck left the bar with a guy named Will, and the professor caught up with her, saying he was sorry. He admitted that he liked her, but that his marriage stood in the way of them being together. That evening, Evan told Kate that he planned to bring back her previous caregiver, who had been perfect for her, unlike Beck. Before going to bed, he helped her wash up, as he always did, considering it his duty. Kate lay awake for a long time, thinking about the new helper. There was something about Beck that made her want to live again. In the morning, Beck was nursing a hangover. She hadn't expected Evan to call and ask her to come back. It was Kate's idea. However, Beck continued to be late every day, making up silly excuses. This went on for several weeks. Evan decided his wife needed more social interaction and suggested she meet up with her friends. Since he often stayed late at work, he returned home quite late in the evenings. One afternoon, Beck took Kate to the supermarket to choose ingredients for dinner and admitted that she didn't know how to cook at all. That evening, Kate's friends came to visit. Each of them led an active life, while Kate herself couldn't even hold a fork. She refused her caregiver's help, but all of her friends believed she was incredibly lucky to have a husband willing to do anything for her. Late at night, after the guests had left, Kate asked Beck to bring Evan's tablet and check his email. Beck felt awkward, but Kate insisted. She suspected that her husband was cheating, as he was often away from home. Her suspicions were confirmed. Evan had been writing to another woman. Fighting back tears, Kate asked Beck to leave. Late into the night, Evan still hadn't returned. After finishing her duties, Beck went to the bar and told Jill what had happened. She had never seen Kate so crushed. Meanwhile, Kate tried to go down the stairs by herself, but fell. Minutes later, Beck received an empty message from her. Worried, she rushed over and found Kate in bad shape. More than anything, Kate didn't want her husband to see her like that. Beck helped her freshen up, genuinely feeling for her. Kate said she wanted to leave the house immediately. When Evan finally returned, his wife was already gone. He found the tablet on the bed and realized that Kate had discovered his affair. Meanwhile, Beck had brought Kate to her apartment, which she shared with Jill. Her roommate clearly hadn't expected such a turn of events. Kate kept receiving messages from her husband but had no intention of replying. Beck helped her get comfortable in bed and shared her dream to sing on stage. For now, she wasn't doing well at it, and even her parents didn't believe in her talent. Kate wished her good night, and Beck said she was sorry for what had happened. The next morning, Kate's phone was flooded with missed calls from Evan. Instead of calling her husband back, Kate asked Beck to take her to a care home for people with disabilities. She insisted she wanted to stay there so she would no longer be a burden to Evan. Kate believed it was all her fault. Her husband didn't deserve to suffer just because she had fallen ill. But Beck immediately understood this was the wrong path and quickly took Kate away from there. On the way, Kate kept repeating that Evan deserved another life. He was only 37, healthy, and should move on. Beck was adamantly against it. In her opinion, no one deserved to be cheated on. Kate didn't understand why Beck was so determined to help her. The girl admitted she felt a kindred spirit in her, a closeness she had only ever felt with her grandmother. Kate asked Beck to take her to Evan. The man, who was already going out of his mind with worry, was overjoyed to see his wife. But his joy faded when Kate calmly told him she wanted him to move out, otherwise she would. She didn't want to live constantly feeling guilty and thinking she had ruined his life. As she passed Evan's secretary, Cynthia, Kate remarked that he now belonged to her. After that, Beck drove Kate home. The woman admitted she might have just made the biggest mistake of her life, but assured Beck she would be fine. Still, Beck couldn't leave her alone, afraid she might do something rash. She could see how much Kate needed someone close right now. When Beck put on a DVD of Kate's concert performances, Kate asked her to turn it off. Memories of the past only brought pain. That same night, Kate became very ill. She struggled to breathe, and a panicked Beck called an ambulance. But Kate told her to cancel it, explaining she didn't want to be saved. It was her conscious choice. Meanwhile, the professor kept calling Beck and flirting with her after class, asking why she wasn't responding. She was hurt, but eventually gave in again. When he found out she was responsible for another person's life, he assumed it was a joke and laughed. Beck walked away, trying to distract herself with her studies. Meanwhile, Kate was visited by a doctor who confirmed that her condition had worsened due to the progression of her illness, and there would be no improvement. One day, Beck began trying on Kate's clothes and shoes. Her wardrobe was luxurious, and Beck was practically glowing with happiness. Kate didn't want to switch to an electric wheelchair because it felt like admitting defeat, but Beck convinced her there was nothing shameful about it. They had a wonderful time at the mall and later relaxed by the pool, where they met a couple, Marilyn and John. Marilyn suffered from the same illness as Kate, but her eyes sparkled with happiness. It was clear how deeply John loved his wife. Beck and Kate agreed to visit them at home, and that evening Kate laughed more sincerely than she had in a long time. In moments like these, she truly felt alive. During this time, Evan was unsuccessfully trying to reach his wife, longing to hear her voice and ask for forgiveness. He had no idea that Kate was spending the evening at a bar with Beck and her friends. Will, who had liked Beck for a long time, once again tried to convince her to perform on stage, telling her she had a beautiful voice, but the girl no longer believed in herself. On the way home, Kate said that Will was a very sweet guy, and recalled how she had met Evan 15 years ago. Back then, a musician had also courted her, and even wrote her a song, but she never gave him a chance. Now, sometimes she regretted it, though she knew it was far too late. Later, Beck and Kate went to a children's party hosted by Kate's friend Kelly, whose daughter had just turned 5. The house was full of guests. Another friend, Alyssa, had recently given birth. For all these people, life was only beginning, while for Kate, it was slipping away. During the party, Kate had another attack. When Evan found out, he rushed over immediately. He had lost a lot of weight and looked exhausted, but Kate instantly said she wasn't ready to see him. Evan insisted that he hadn't seen Cynthia again, but Kate, whose words were barely understandable, replied with Beck's help that it had never been about her. She loved Evan, and that was why she was letting him go. After he left, Kate tearfully told Beck that she was losing control over her body more and more. She had always dreamed of becoming a mother, but now it was too late. Kate admitted she just wanted to scream, and she did. Beck screamed with her, and it brought them both some relief. At her next doctor's appointment, Kate heard the worst news. Breathing would become increasingly difficult. She and Beck began spending more time in nature, savoring every breath of fresh air. Kate knew her days were numbered. Beck begged her not to give up, but they both knew there was nothing that could save her. Thanksgiving was approaching, and they decided to make it special. They invited Marilyn, John, Jill, and even Will. The evening turned out warm and heartfelt. For a while, Kate forgot about her diagnosis and simply enjoyed the moment. After dinner, Will invited Beck to dance, while Kate asked Marilyn if she regretted being only an observer now. Marilyn replied that she now tasted life more deeply than ever before. Will once again confessed his feelings to Beck, but she wasn't ready for a serious relationship. The girl was surprised that he understood Kate so well. He could read lips because his brother was deaf. While they were clearing the dishes, the doorbell rang. On the doorstep stood a drunk professor looking for some fun. But this time, Beck found the strength to throw him out. Later, Marilyn was admitted to the hospital. Her condition had deteriorated sharply, and she never regained consciousness. Kate didn't want to end up the same way and begged God not to let it happen. Soon, Kate's friends met with Beck to have an honest conversation. They didn't trust her, suspecting she might have hidden motives. When Kelly and Alyssa brought up Kate's will, Beck immediately walked away. Returning to Kate's house, she found a strange woman inside. It turned out Kate wanted to hire a second caregiver to make things easier for Beck. But Beck couldn't imagine entrusting Kate's care to anyone else. Later, Kate explained that it would be better this way. She didn't want her friend to be distracted from her studies and music. But Beck assured her it wasn't a problem. One evening, Evan appeared at the door. He missed his wife terribly and wanted to win her back. He admitted his mistakes and promised to be patient. Hearing him, Kate couldn't hold back her tears. She had forgiven him long ago, but she still didn't want them to be together. Christmas was approaching. Beck was decorating the tree when her parents, Elizabeth and Bruce, showed up unannounced. They were happy to meet Kate and stayed for dinner. But when Elizabeth was alone with her daughter, she dropped the pleasant act. She was displeased that Beck was skipping her university classes. Beck felt she was doing something truly important by caring for Kate, but her mother thought otherwise. In her opinion, Kate didn't have long to live, and once she was gone, Beck would be left without a diploma and without a future. Elizabeth said that everything her daughter had ever started ended in failure. Beck didn't want to continue the conversation and went downstairs. There, she realized with horror that Kate had heard every word through the baby monitor. Kate hadn't known Beck had dropped out of school, and she asked her to leave that very day. She wanted only the best for her friend and didn't want her to waste her life. Those words hit Beck hard. She was afraid no one else would be there to care for Kate, but in the end, she had to go. For the first time in a long while, Kate was visited by her mother, Gwen. Although they had never been close, Kate now needed family support. Soon after, there was a lively Christmas party. Evan was there, as were many of Kate's relatives. Beck, however, felt lonelier than ever. Will approached her and asked how she was doing. She admitted that things had fallen apart between her and Kate, and it was very hard for her. Will wanted to ask her out, but Beck declined. She needed time to recover. Suddenly, Beck received a phone call and rushed to Kate. Now, Evan was once again taking care of his wife. Marilyn died in the hospital, and Beck wanted to tell Kate in person, but Evan wasn't sure it was the right moment. Beck left him one of the letters that John, Marilyn's husband, had sent to friends after her passing. Evan read it aloud to his wife. In the letter, Marilyn wrote that her illness had taught her to cherish every moment of life. Meanwhile, John delivered a heartfelt eulogy at the funeral, mourning his beloved wife. Gwen tried to take Kate's hand, and at that moment, Kate suffered another attack. She was rushed to the hospital. Kate didn't want the doctors to prolong her life. Her husband and parents didn't know what to do. Evan believed they should respect Kate's last wish, but Gwen disagreed. Beck arrived at the hospital as soon as she heard what had happened, and was shocked to learn that Kate had entrusted her with the decision whether or not to put her on life support. She went into Kate's room to say goodbye. They held hands, and Beck understood that Kate had made her decision long ago, but Gwen refused to accept it. Kate wanted to go home, even if it meant she only had a few days left. Her family granted her final wish. She wanted to spend her remaining time surrounded by loved ones, not in a hospital. Beck placed Kate's hands on the piano and helped her play. For Kate, it was pure happiness. Her illness had stolen music from her, but for a moment Beck gave it back. Evan cried, feeling powerless. It was hard for him to be there in those hours, but he pulled himself together and told Kate how much he loved her. Then he left in tears. Beck stayed by Kate's side constantly. Kate asked her not to call for help if another attack came, and made her promise she would find a man who would love her no matter what. Beck thanked Kate for teaching her the most important things: responsibility and love. Kate had been the only person who truly believed in her. This was their final conversation. Kate wanted to be alone. Beck cried the whole night, but in the end she rushed into Kate's room. She couldn't let her friend go through this in solitude. Time passed. Beck still couldn't accept the loss. Will silently supported her. There were no words for moments like this. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, give it a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.